Boom! Welcome back to another episode of Evolving Through Experience, where we discussing growth in every aspect, mentally, emotionally, physically, and beyond. When I tell you that life has been lifing, we about to talk about it though, briefly, but we're gonna talk about it because evolving through experience is for everybody. Because if you're not evolving, you are dissolving. Today, guys, we have a special guest, another special guest. I'm looking forward to this episode. It's definitely a unique episode that I think is, I don't even think, I know it's going to help a lot of different people from all walks of life. Whether you can relate or you can't relate, you'll definitely be able to take something from it and apply the gems to your life. So without further ado, guys, we have Amber. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
I appreciate having you on.
I'm glad to be here today.
No, for sure. I just want to say your story when we spoke about it, I think it's definitely amazing. I love your energy. You are very funny, as you know. I know you said everybody told you that.
Yeah.
I know you go by the One Armed Bandit, right?
Yes.
One Armed Bandit. So we're gonna talk about that because you say a lot of funny things. Obviously, we're gonna talk about your podcast, everything you have going on, amazing things from art, everything. And I'm looking forward to it. So without anything else being said, let's start from the top about your story. Where do you want to start?
Ooh, I guess I like to start at the beginning and be like,
okay,
I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Let's do that. That's how you open up anyway. So let's go.
Yes. So right now I am in a place of what I would call like my spiritual renaissance in my life. I feel like I've been through so many situations, experiencing complicated grief, and I had so much of my life where I couldn't really see my future. Like I couldn't dream. And I feel like I'm finally in a place where I found so much peace and I found that spark again. And my art has been such a big part of that.
Yeah.
My whole life, I feel like I've used it as a form of escapism because I grew up in an environment where it was very, very verbally abusive, psychologically, spiritually abusive. There was a lot of love in my household, but it was complicated. It was just laden with a lot of generational trauma. And art for me was just a way where I couldn't be wrong, where I could create the environment that I wanted to exist so badly. And it's also been my saving grace, like throughout my life, of just helping me learn how to express myself, helping me to create everything that's in my mind and bring it to life. And it's been so reaffirming for me because it's like I'm making something out of nothing every single time. And so being able to have that skill has helped me hone that skill in the face of adversity because I'm having to, I coined this term, imaginative strategizing. So it's a way where I'm literally given some circumstances and I see the opportunity in it, no matter how bad it is. And I'm able to put things together and create this beautiful picture, like whether I'm doing art or whether it's in my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a place where I have so much appreciation for myself and being able to use those skills to get to where I am today, where I'm grateful for every single thing I have. Like I always had gratitude, but it's a different level where I can look around me at every turn and see how I got here and to be able to be grateful for all the trauma, for all the heartaches, for everything. And so I think that's a good place to start.
No, for sure. And you said so much out of there that we're going to definitely break it down.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. I just want to commend you because I think for a fact, I got to that point too in life where you realize everything you've been through, it shows you like, yo, just be grateful. Like it's like you can look at the ugly and just smile because it's still so beautiful in your eyes. And when your eyes, I mean, mentally, emotionally, physically, and beyond, that you can see that. And this is actually why I started this, because I want people to know, like, no matter where you at in life. And it's therapy for me too, because as I'm building this, I go through things as well. Literally right now, like before you came here, I promise you we was having a crazy conversation about life.
You should have saved it for me.
Oh, trust me, this can't go in the podcast just yet. We still trying to get through the evolving process. We probably at the L right now.
Okay.
The first. So long story short, I just say all that to say because people need it at the end of the day. And I just want to commend you again because the fact that you've been there, and I also say I've been there, but now that's the whole point of evolving. It's a continuous process because now I have to do that again. But being that I've been through that, I know no matter what I've gone through now, that I could always prevail.
Yes.
Even though it's a learning process, it's a process. I know the end of the tunnel, what it's going to be.
Exactly.
And I look forward to that while trying to still enjoy the journey. So with that being said, we're going to start from the beginning a little, go in deep in what you just said. let's start with why you call yourself the One Armed Bandit.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you come up with that name? It's funny, so I want to talk about that.
Oh my gosh, my family came up with that. So I really want to commend my family because I am the first person that I can really think of who was born with a physical difference. And so my sister and my brother, they were born with both of their arms, all their limbs, my mom and dad as well. So I was kind of thrust into their lives, and they had no idea that I was going to be born this way. Like throughout the ultrasounds and everything else, there was no warning at all. I have an older sister who has all her extremities and everything like that. And so when I was born, the doctors were trying to kind of like talk to my mom and my dad about it and kind of like
as you're being born.
Yeah, because they saw it and they didn't want to like introduce their baby without explaining it. And so my dad was like, I don't care. Just give me the baby. And so ever since then, I feel like they have just done so well about like building a strong sense of self within me. But then also like me, with them meeting me where I am, I showed up as my full, complete self. And so I have this like attitude that I don't know, people don't really know how to take me. Yeah. Because it's like, I don't know if they think I'm supposed to be sad or downtrodden or I'm supposed to be like a superhuman or whatever, but it's just like, I'm showing up as my full and complete self all the time. And it's funny and it's sassy and it's just like whatever I want it to be every single time. And I think I really gave my parents a run for my money, or a run for their money. Yeah. But that's what I call me, the One Armed Bandit, because I did whatever I wanted to do. I was up, jumping around, biting my cousins, fighting. There's this story they love to tell when I was in primary school. Oh my God. And so there's the teacher's daughter in the class. And she was super mean to me. I don't know why. But the kids used to like try to push me and bully me and stuff. And I had a prosthetic arm at the time. I took that arm off and was whipping all them kids. Bop, bop, bops all around.
I can just imagine a video of that. No, that's funny.
So the school had to call my parents and they were like, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'm so sorry to bother you, but can you just keep Amber's arm home for the week? Because
not keep her arm home. That's crazy.
Because she's here hitting the kids with the arm at school.
Imagine it. That's crazy. And can you keep your arm home? That's crazy.
Had to pack it up, baby.
So they really made you keep your arm home?
I must have been swinging that thing. I don't remember that day at school, but they said I was
what age
down.
was this?
This was probably when I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Oh,
I didn't
that's
play.
Crazy.
I did not play.
Can you keep the arm at home? It's
whacking
crazy.
them. Do you understand?
And
the aim was
I wish
good.
they got a video of that because that would be crazy. That's funny. Well, they probably deserved it. So be it.
They did. They did.
They deserved it.
My family always thought I was just like super sassy, like bossy. I do whatever I want to like do. Yeah. And I love that for me.
Yeah, facts.
And so they called me the One Armed Bandit growing up. That was my
That's your name. Say less. Well, you definitely kept it, so that's good. Definitely don't get rid of that.
No.
So let's talk about that. So obviously that's a beautiful thing. Obviously, even from when did you say that transition, or was it always there? Like you said, just being very outgoing, very being able to communicate, and you just knew you were you and no problem. That was always there.
It was always there, but it was really because of my parents. And so, like, my mom worked with me really, really young. So she taught me how to tie my shoes when I was 2. I was reading by the time I was 3.
Yeah.
I played softball, and I started really, really young. So I was like the youngest person on the team. And I remember, like, my first season, I was still hitting off a tee, but my dad was practicing with me. Like, we would go outside, and I wanted to learn how to catch the ball. So we would just be out there for hours, like scooping up the ball, putting the glove under my arm, throwing it back. And I would be so fast, people couldn't even tell that I didn't have my other arm because I would be out there. Yeah. And so this was maybe like toward the end of the season. And it was my turn to bat. I was the last person up. It was tied. It was like stakes were high. And so I told my dad I wanted to bat without the tee. And he was always supportive. He was a coach. So he could have been like, no, like, let's win this. He's like, no, we'll do what you want to do. And I remember the other coach like called everybody in, called all the kids in, was like,
from the other team.
She can't hit the ball. So come all the way up around the plate. And I'm like, that is really, can I cuss?
You try to keep it to a limit.
A-hole.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
It was some BS. Like to do that to a 5-year-old is crazy. So he called everybody in, and my dad came to the plate and was just like, hit it to the fence, just like we do when we practicing. And so I hit the ball. I didn't even get to see where it went because my dad came and scooped me up, and we won the game.
Just scooped you up.
Scooped me up, hit it to the fence. We won, and that coach was trying to recruit me for years after that. But it's just like it's they created an environment where I could really thrive, especially very
beautiful.
early on, and like helping me find ways to talk about myself. So
Yeah.
like I have this little speech I do on the first day of school where it's like, I can
Okay.
do anything you could do, and I do it with one arm, so I'm better than you. You know,
Nah, facts. Let 'em
stuff
know.
like that. And it was just like
Yeah.
they let me know that I was so powerful,
Yeah.
and so God didn't make any junk, you know, type of energy in my
Yeah.
household, and just letting me do whatever I wanted to do. And if they were afraid, they were sure to hold it to themselves
Yeah.
and like,
I was about to ask you
you
that, yeah.
know, hold their breath and let me do what I do. But then I
Yeah.
feel like I just started doing, and
Yeah.
it kind of just caught them off guard too.
Which is a beautiful thing. And I want to ask you before we go back, because I know obviously listen to your podcast, you know how to make your arms smile.
Yeah.
You did say that. Or you said you make it smile, right?
I can
you make
it
a
talk,
smiley face. Make it talk. Okay.
Well, it's a smiley face. You
Oh.
see it?
Oh, yeah, I
eyes and
see.
a nose and a mouth. It's so cute.
Yeah,
Like,
I see it. Okay. So I appreciate that showing us. But I want to ask you, I know you said they'll keep it to themselves if they ever. Do you ever feel like, or even now, if you ever had that conversation, did they ever like blame themselves? Because I'm thinking from a parent perspective, if your child comes out and like you said, it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
You found peace in it. You're grateful, which is an amazing thing.
Right.
But maybe somebody's not there yet. So what do you feel like was their thing that helped get them there, or in private that they never shared with you if you do know to help them get there?
Right.
Because there's a parent out there that may need to know that, because they may blame themselves.
Right.
And they feel like it's their fault. What did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? But obviously you know it's not a mess up. It's actually a blessing. So Lord, walk me through that.
You know, that's so funny that you asked that, because that's been a constant conversation with me and my mom, because we've had a very difficult relationship.
Okay.
And in counseling, it kind of came up that it might be because I was born an amputee. And so I had conversations with her about it, just asking her like how she felt. And she did say like at first she felt like it was a tragedy. And so I always felt like that was so extreme to say, because like I've lost a child before, and that to me is a tragedy for real.
Yeah.
But like, especially to say that to me as a grown up, I was just like, girl, like I've done everything. I'm like superb. You
You're
know?
happy. You're at peace.
Yeah. But I could see like how she really internalized that. And then people say crazy things to me, like really rude things, like talk about my mother and say, oh, she must have been on drugs and stuff like that. And so I can only imagine that they were saying the same thing to her as well. And so you do begin to internalize that. And I think she didn't really have the tools to really process some of those feelings back then. And so a lot of that has come through work that we've done together and work that she's done in counseling too, which I commend her like for sure, because
Shout out
we
to her.
had, shout out to my mama for real. I'm just so proud of the growth that she's done, like even in the past 2 years, because I had a time where I did have to cut her off, and we can revisit that if you want to.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. We covering everything you're comfortable with.
But it's just like to be able to see her. And I feel like she's in her own, like starting her own renaissance in her own right, but healing things within her, because I know that there were a lot of insecurities, but then seeing me thrive also was very complicated for her to see, because she's proud of me, but then she also feels insecure in her own right, because she's trying to make sense of
How this happened.
How this happened, all of her emotions, her life choices, you know. But I do feel like now that I have a child and being able to have that experience with her, it's kind of like parenting her in a way. So,
Beautiful.
and then being able to give her empathy that she didn't know how to give me. So, yeah.
No, for sure. And I'm glad. I hope she gets to the point where she doesn't have to feel that at all no more.
Yeah.
And even one day, if she's willing to have that conversation for other parents, because like you said, her perspective, people need to see it from her perspective too.
Exactly.
Obviously without the people, minusing the people that had the negative comments to say or saying she was on drugs. Like, bro, like that.
And my mama was not.
Yeah.
She was teaching. Like, she's a good and not to say people who have addiction and substance abuse issues aren't good people.
Yeah.
But it's just like she was literally on the straight and narrow her whole life. And very sheltered her whole life too. So it's like you get thrust into this situation with a child who has a difference, and you have to navigate that. But they did a great job of finding a lot of resources.
Yeah.
So they were trying to kind of like just take me to hospitals and stuff and see what would work. But then somebody told them about the Shriners Hospital, which is a special hospital that doesn't charge its patients. They work with children who are burn victims, who are living with cancer and maybe terminal illnesses, and then amputees as well.
Okay.
And so they were the reason why I got my first prosthetic for free, and they worked with me and things like that. But they also had camps for families.
Okay.
Yep. So you can go to camp when you're young. Your whole family can come. So like you get to meet the siblings. The siblings can meet siblings.
Okay.
And
Is
you
it
know, be
when you say
together.
camp is like you meet other amputees or people
Yep.
that related? Okay,
Other
create
amputees and their
relationships.
families. So we like
Okay.
play, and we would be out there playing kickball and everything. And it would be amputees who are quads, which means you're missing like all 4 of your limbs, running around, kicking the ball, doing what they have to
That's
do.
what's up.
Yeah, it
That's
was
beautiful.
so fun.
Yeah.
And it's good for my brother, my sister, my whole family to be able to see people still living, still existing, and to connect with other parents.
Yeah, that's
to
definitely
share those feelings, because sometimes it's just so isolating because it's such a niche experience.
Yeah. Do they accept donations and things of that nature?
Yeah.
Okay, because you said they do it for free.
Yep.
So okay.
They
Now
sure do.
that's beautiful. Because I wouldn't have known something like that exists,
Yeah.
but the fact that you're explaining it, I think that's super dope. What about your father? So I want to go from his perspective. What was his? Because as a man, it's like how does he internalize this? Because obviously, I'm sure it wasn't shown, but he has a deal from it from his wife, and then obviously having a daughter.
Exactly.
So what is his perspective?
My dad is so protective of us. You know, like my mom is very fierce too, though. Like that's where I get my sense of humor, I feel like, from both of them, but my mama for sure.
Yeah.
But so my dad is like really, he takes care of my mom, like very much nurturing for me and for my mom. Like my dad was the nurturing parent, and he's like this big guy. Like in his neighborhood, they call him man because they say he was born as a man.
Yeah.
He was born on the kitchen table in Kirkwood, okay? But he's just like this big, gentle teddy bear. Like when he was growing up, he didn't take that any junk. You know what I mean? But like with his family, he's just like, I feel like he was always a dad. Like a dad with no kids is what I call it. Like when you growing up.
No, that's tough.
And so he's just like, he would always just be like, baby girl, don't worry about what's going on. And if I'm crying, he would just hug me and like, help me to feel like I had a safe space to really unload and unpack all that stuff. My dad was always a really safe space about that. And then always just letting me know I could do whatever I wanted to do. And always showing up for all of my events. Like I look up, and my dad was a business owner, so he's busy. I look up and he's back there in his landscaping uniform in the back of like my award ceremonies. He's at all my games because he's my coach. Yeah. You know, just making time to be there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Now,
shout out to him too. I look forward to meeting him as well.
Yeah, my parents are the best. They so funny. Like hilarious.
Sound like we need to have them on the episode. Let's get them. Yeah, say less.
Especially about marriage because they've been together since they were 19 and 21. My dad is my mom's only boyfriend. So like, they've been married for almost 39 years now, or 38. They just celebrated their wedding anniversary in February, and they just are like fun. Still
That's
like
beautiful
to me.
Because that's definitely a conversation. For the fact that she was his only boyfriend, it's like that entire phase. I'm looking forward to that. I got some questions for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, I want to start transitioning into obviously you becoming a mother, or is it anything other before I get to that was so significant that you want to cover first?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, so you becoming a mother, and I say this, and I unfortunately. I don't say this unfortunately. I just want to commend you because I know you said that you unfortunately had a miscarriage. Not miscarriage. You said you lost a child, correct?
Yeah, I had a miscarriage.
Oh, it was okay. I think you told me that on the phone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do apologize for that. So let's talk about that because I know it's other women that go through that or been through that, and I just want to know what can you give them to let them know that they can overcome it as well.
Right. So I've actually had more than one miscarriage, but I had one where I had to go to the hospital.
Okay.
So this was like when my baby was more developed. The other ones were pretty early on. But in this experience, it was just the first time that I really knew I was pregnant. And I had been told for years like I couldn't have kids, which was a whole lie. But that's just something we can kind of dive into.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we can definitely talk about that.
Ended up getting pregnant, and it was with my ex-husband. But it was just like such a happy time, really happy. But it was also like around the time of his birthday that I hit the end of my first trimester. And then I started to have spotting, and then it progressed. And so I ended up having like a full labor because that's what happens when you have a miscarriage. It's like everything happens. And so I remember like I was just like at our apartment in East Point back then, and I was just like trying to call him from the next room, and I was so weak because I was in so much pain. I couldn't even wake him up because he had fallen asleep. We were up all night.
Yeah.
But then I got him up, and I was like, you got to take me to the hospital. We went to Grady, and my parents met me there. And it was a horrible experience to have to lose my child, but it was so much support around me. Like even the doctor, the room I was in was so nice. And it made me realize like during times of trauma, any kind of quiet peace really sets the tone for your grieving process, because that was the beginning of my grieving process. And the doctor was so nice to me. It was like he was in tears with me and just shared so many stories about him and his wife and how she'd experienced miscarriage before, and, just talked me through everything that was going on. And he was so gentle with me. And then there was a nurse who came in and she was the exact opposite. And so he stepped out. He was like, there's some paperwork that you're going to have to fill out. And so she came in and I filled out these papers. And then she just shoved my baby's death certificate in my face and was like, oh, you got to sign this too. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't even know that was going to be a part of the process. And I don't think that people realize that either. But I did have to sign that. And then my ex-husband was really upset because he felt guilty because he felt like he should have signed. Like, he was there the whole time. And the lady was like, no, we're good. And so I think he always carried that with him. We're not really on speaking terms like that to really continue that conversation, but it was something that he very much internalized for a while after that. And it was just really tough. But I feel like I was still in counseling and everything, and that wasn't my first experience with grief. So it took me some time to be okay, but I knew what I was up against, kind of like we talked about earlier in the conversation, like knowing that you can pull back on certain experiences and knowing how to push forward. And so I still, honor that time in my life. And I feel like I could feel the spirit of my baby, because they say that you can feel your baby's spirit before they start to really form. But it was just a time where I had to really sit still and like allow myself to feel what I needed to feel and to process what I needed to process.
I commend you. I commend you sincerely because, like I said, I know there's people out there that's doing that. And I'm glad you said that because, and I'm sure you agree with it. I know there's no exact one-by-step answer because everybody's different, but would you say sitting with yourself, obviously, I don't know if that happens immediate. I think that timeline is different for everybody, but anybody that's dealing with that right now, if they just sit with their self, that would be a great first step. Just to sit with yourself and just digest the information, let out the tears, like without feeling like you got to hold them back.
Yes. I say don't try to compartmentalize anything because it's going to come back anyway. It's always there. Even if you try to push it to the back, it's always in the back of your mind. It's always going to be in the back of your heart. And it's going to come up whenever or when you least expect it. So my thing is, like, I'm very much a head-on type of person. Like, that's how I am with everything. If I'm scared of something, I'm jumping into it. Like, I'm just like that. But everybody is not like that, and that's something I had to realize. But I just feel like you have to do what makes you feel good in the moment, but also what is not going to harm you in the future. And so trying to balance that. And then ride the wave, because there are going to be times where, there might be something that triggers you in the future. And so if you feel like you need to cry again, if you need to revisit it, then you probably do. Because there's something else that you need to learn or something else that you need to heal that hasn't been resolved yet.
Okay. And I know we spoke about this too. So from counseling, you went to counseling immediately after this as well, or you was already in counseling?
I was already in counseling.
Okay. So from counseling, obviously you was already taking steps for other reasons to obviously heal. So what did counseling give you during this process? What was the most beneficial? Because maybe that's a step that somebody could take too, whether they in counseling already or not. Maybe that could be the first thing because they don't know how to take this all full on without thinking the worst of the worst for themselves. So what is that process that counseling gave you?
So for me, the reason why I like counseling so much is because I have somebody who I don't know, like who I've gotten to know, but who is like a sounding board for me. Because you have your immediate support, you have your friends, you have your family. A lot of them love you. They might try to sugarcoat things for you. They might not give you the truth all the way, but then they also might not have the resources.
Or the knowledge,
I want somebody, like, I'm not going to my mom and my daddy when I need a doctor. You know what I'm saying? So if my mental health is at stake, I want to talk to somebody who's an expert, who went and studied this in the field, but I try to find the blackest name I can find when I'm looking for a counselor.
Okay.
Shout out to Shashika, because that was my counselor's name.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, she was amazing though. But to be able to just like have somebody who culturally understands you, but who can bring in other knowledge. And so for me, it was like starting the session with knowing like this is not my fault. There are a lot of reasons that could lead you to have a miscarriage, like taking the guilt off immediately. But then being able to be so positive was just really affirming for me. But then she also helped me realize that my job was causing me so much stress. That was the real issue. She helped me realize I was being sexually harassed at my job horribly and terribly during a time where I really needed to be able to like heal. I was working like 7 days a week doing events like all over. So it just helped me realize the real perspective in my situation. And it helped me be mindful because it was like I didn't have to just sit in the grief. I was able to kind of like pull myself out of that with the questions. And they were just really gradual. It wasn't anything too heavy. And it was like at my own pace. And sometimes it would involve like having like little exercises outside, like in gratitude or like sometimes she'll have like this workbook that I could work in and send me maybe excerpts from books or like podcasts, like therapy for Black girls, just different things. And she would just listen to me. And so if she hears me talk about spirituality, she might send me something in regards to like my spirituality. But it was nice to feel seen and heard at a time where it felt like life was just going on and on. To have that moment in that session to sit still for a second.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We need that, everybody. And with that, it's two things I want to take out of that. I know you said you found, obviously, the Blackest therapist. Do you feel like, would you ever be open to, because I think Charlamagne said this, when talking about therapy, because I'm a fan of talking about therapy as well, and actually having a therapist. I need a new one, actually. But that's another conversation.
I've had different ones.
Yeah, I have different ones, but I don't even remember the last time I've been, if I'm being quite honest. But I've been like in a great space, but obviously I still need it for other things. But long story short, the focus back on the question is, do you feel like you would be open to finding one that's not like complete opposite? Because I think Charlamagne said that, and he went and found, he thought like, I need to find somebody that relate to me, somebody that's my skin complexion, Black or whatever it may be, but found how great it was actually finding somebody complete opposite, a young or old white lady or white man that allowed them that may not truly understand, but could look at things because they don't understand from a neutral perspective and offer something that will blow you away. So have you ever thought about finding one of that nature or thinking about that?
I think that that's like more of a class conversation.
Okay.
And so because I feel like right now what I needed was somebody who could really understand where I'm coming from. But as I'm moving into like a different class, maybe that'll be different for me.
Okay,
but I still like, because I do feel like that's a conversation that people leave out most of the time. It's like the difference in class as well, because you have a whole different set of problems when you're in a different tax bracket.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And that doesn't mean that I won't need a Black woman then.
Yeah, but
when I was in college, that was my first experience with counseling, and it almost ruined everything. I went to a counselor at my school, and it was this white lady, and she was sweet, of course. But I told her, like, my best friend just passed, and, you know, like, this is the person who was closest to me on this earth. And she was, like, looking at me with tears in her eyes, and she was just like, you are so strong. You are just so strong. If you want, I can write you an excuse and you can be on academic leave today. And I was like, babe, I'm Black and poor. I cannot go on leave. I need something else. And so I do feel like it could be somebody else, but you need to be able to operate how I'm operating.
Yeah, in
like,
that space,
and coming from where I'm coming from. And I think I did watch Seth Rogen's documentary with his therapist.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched that. I can't remember what it's called. I don't want to say it wrong, but
it's all good. They ain't cutting a check anyway. They ain't cutting a check.
So, but I loved his process because that's how I am. He would like write these little pictures down and it would be like action steps for his clients to take and like things and exercises for them to do to kind of like proactively work through the trauma. And I kind of feel like that's what I do in my business. But yeah, I could do something like that. But I definitely think like start with, especially if you're afraid of counseling or you're wary about it, start with somebody who can understand your background. Because if you go into it blind and you're talking to somebody who can't understand economically where you're coming from, socially where you're coming from, spiritually where you're coming from, it can be very off-putting and it can ruin your first
experience.
Your first experience. But once you are used and accustomed to therapy, shop around for therapists. You know, I don't eat at the same restaurants, but it's like, you know, you want a safe introduction. You want something that's comfortable for you.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you said that. I appreciate that perspective, and I'm glad that you evolved to the point where that first experience didn't be like, nah, because I think some people have maybe had that experience or have heard those experiences and be like, nah, therapy not for me, especially coming from our community. So I say that, I'm glad you said that because I hope this conversation can encourage anybody to go get therapy. Even if your first conversation or your first therapy session with the wrong person went horrible,
Right.
don't use that as a reason to never go or try to
Exactly.
find a new one, because obviously you went and that was a great step, but don't use it to never go to the next best step and
Right.
obviously finding another one. So with that being said, I want to transition and let's talk about, obviously you kept saying ex-husband. What from you can share, how did this transpire? Because obviously you had a child.
Right.
And I went through this very emotional trauma experience. So how does this transpire to obviously ending that and moving on to a point not speaking?
I can really just speak to my side.
Okay.
And I'm glad that I'm like this, because sometimes you'll just be stuck in trying to figure out, like, why did this happen and what was going through their mind. I'm past the point of trying to understand what happened. I can just kind of give like a bird's eye view. I definitely feel like, so I'll start at the beginning of that relationship. We met in church. So like his mom knew my grandma way back. Like this is somebody I knew, because people always be like, oh, you need to know who you married. You need to know who you had kids with. I knew him, met him in the church house, baby. You know? And so it was really cool. We were kind of like high school sweethearts. We didn't go to the same high school, but we met. We didn't meet in high school. We knew each other before then. But we started talking like our senior years, and we're like puppy dogs, super in love. Broke up for a while and then got back together. So in total, we were together for like 6 years. And he was like perfect. Instagram boyfriends, like love notes all around the house, doing whatever for me, for my family, like getting close with my family, my siblings, everybody, my friends. And I do feel like when I had the miscarriage, he internalized a lot of that, but that wasn't his only set of issues. Like he already has stuff that he's walking around with and stuff that he's dealing with today that's unresolved. Just from his childhood, which was very tumultuous. It was a lot of just like physical abuse, mental, psychological, just stuff that's passed down in a lot of Black families. And I just got to a place, like once I got pregnant, I quit my job because I was working a lot and I had the previous miscarriage. And so he was like, I'm going to take care of you and we're going to work it out. Money got tight. Once I stopped working, it was like the power dynamic kind of shifted in the relationship. And it was kind of like I noticed the change in him to where his attitude toward me was different. And I kind of just took notice of that early on in my pregnancy and just like put a bug in a few people's ears, like, this man is different. Something is not right. So we're just going to keep an eye on it. But it just started to be like disrespectful. And I never dealt with disrespect like from him ever. But like when I was pregnant, he was just so disrespectful. Like there was a time where I was feeling sick in the car and I just am like, please give me a minute. I don't feel like talking. And he's like, oh, you have an attitude, start going off on me. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, you can't have an attitude with me. He's like, I can do whatever I want. You think you're the only person who can have an attitude because you're pregnant? And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, what you mean? You know what I mean? I'm the only one carrying a baby. You need to check it. Like, I'm very
That's
even
when Atlanta,
keeled.
Southside came out?
East side. I'm from the east side. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm like, you need to check that because I'm very like peaceful, sweet, flower child type of energy all the time. So if I have an attitude, give me grace because I'm giving grace hand over foot and I only got one hand. So I'm giving it a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I got it.
I'm passing it out.
No, I got you.
So it's like, give me some grace, especially when I'm carrying your child. But it would just be like progressively disrespectful. And I could kind of tell like people were giving me compliments and like just praising me for being a partner. And he would just be weird about it. And so I kind of start to sense like some kind of jealousy or some kind of like ill feeling there. But once I had my son, it was like he just went off the deep end. Like he just was so mean. Like and I just was like, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
You know, like I gave him a little time to see if he wanted to go to counseling and stuff, but he kind of told me that he really thinks that he's a sociopath. And I really do believe him. Like now that I look at it and I see like he fits all the characteristics of a sociopath. And he's not diagnosed or anything, but I could see how the things in his life have led him to be there. And so I have empathy for him, but I am also going to hold him accountable for his actions. But the reason why I decided to leave him, like, it's a multitude of reasons. One, I found out that he was using photos from our wedding on dating apps. And I was just like, leave me out of it. Like, if you're going to do what you do, take a good picture of yourself somewhere else. Like, use
tough.
a passport picture or something. I don't know, but to use the first look from when you were about to see me on dating apps is just ruthless. Like,
No, that's wild.
and then you in the house with me and my baby. I'm the type of person where it's like, if you feel like it's somebody out there better for you, go find them, but get out of here, okay? Because this is gonna be a house of peace, and I'm not gonna be disrespecting in my house. Because it's somebody out here for me too. Like, we could play that game, but not here. You know?
We could play that game.
Yeah. So
Go
that was just that. But I think what really made me know that I couldn't be with him was like he broke down on me after he did move out. He came back and he just broke down. He was just crying and talking about his childhood and how he didn't mean anything and this and that. And I was just like, this is too much. I'm not a licensed mental health professional. You need to go talk to somebody. And he was like, well, I know I need to go to counseling, but I'm not going to go. Well, I'm not going to stay with you because you're not going to work out your trauma on me.
That's interesting. And I think it's interesting for somebody to say that and admit they are and then not want to go get help. But I think at the same time that should be studied because it's like, what got him to this point?
Exactly.
So it's like, that's definitely something that should be explored so it can be avoided and also help the people that are in those situations now. And maybe somebody's been there and they've been through it. And I definitely think that's something that should be focused on more because it's so important. Yeah. Nah, for sure. So, and I know you say your life is a Tyler Perry movie. I guess we'll cover the parts you can cover still for now. But I do want to ask you this question before I go back to obviously your child and obviously that relationship with all of this going on. But in your own words, what does evolving through experience mean to you?
Ooh. This is a good one. Let me think about it for a second.
And then don't forget, we got to go to Stepdaddy season 2.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We're going to definitely cover that. Because your intros be funny. Yeah. Well, go ahead. I got you.
I think for me, evolving through experience has really been me for like the past 5 years. So after my divorce, I had to start my life completely over. Closed out all my credit because I was left with joint debt that was like probably $12,000.
Okay.
I had he was supposed to be paying the bills because I wasn't working. And so I had to basically like get it out the mud all over again. And I had this baby and I still was doing art on the side, like illustrations here and there. But I think one of my flaws in my relationships is like, I'll put my partner's needs above mine. And that's a flaw for a lot of Black women. Something that we're trying to work through. But if I see you're going through your process, like, oh, you're in school. I already have my degree. You know, you're just this close to getting through it. I can put my stuff on the back burner and like work a little bit and do this and do that. But it's like now I had this kid. So am I going to wait till he's 18 to live my life? I can't do that. I don't even want my son to do that. Like, I don't want him to grow up and be a father and then give up on his dreams because he has his baby. I don't want to use him as an excuse either. I want to be an example to show him how I can build my life up in the midst of everything that's going on. And so for me, evolving through experience is doing the best that you can do every day to work toward the goals. And it doesn't have to be a marathon all the time. Sometimes it's baby steps. Sometimes it's intentions. Sometimes it's affirmations just to get you up. Because like, especially when you hit rock bottom, you don't realize you have to pick yourself back up right. That's the first step. Before you can even start climbing, you got to stand back up on your 2 feet. So for me, it's just been like doing little things here and there. And to be where I am now, and 5 years ago, I was doing illustrations and like doing my first mural to where now I have contracts with the city. It's beautiful.
Definitely.
To be able to say that 5 years in, that's not, it's not a long time. You know what I mean? It flew by and it dragged at the same time, but it's like, I see myself and I see all these versions of myself and how this version of myself existed. Way back then, this version of myself was already here, but it took me walking in it consistently to show up as her today. And I'm so proud. I'm so grateful for who I was back then because leaving, I had to trust everything. I couldn't doubt. I ain't have any energy or any time to really doubt anything. I had to trust God. I had to trust myself. And that trust is what got me here today. And that's what I want to keep. I want to keep that like inherent trust in my intuition, in my spirit, because that was, and it is now because it's carrying on. It's the most happiest and the most peaceful time I have ever had in my life.
Hey, I that hit home because for so many reasons, and it just makes you want to have tears of joy just thinking about it because like you said, when it's like it's an indescribable feeling that people can't have not. It's like I hope everybody reached that feeling of that piece of just like every single thing. It's like, bro, I want to change a thing in the world. And when you reach that, I promise you, it's just like not on no anything suicidal, but it's just like I've served my purpose to some degree.
Yes.
It's just like I'm cool with things and like this because I'm at so much peace. And I think when people reach that, I think it's a beautiful thing. But obviously, knowing there's still levels to go. But when you find that that moment, it's so beautiful. But also the reason why I say it hit home, I'm not sure. Do you know who Corday is? The artist?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you heard his EP? I might actually play it on the episode too because not the full EP, but it's funny you say that as far as like having children and not wanting to give up your dreams, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents may not know this, or even people before they have children don't understand like how big it is to have a child and how important it is. And this is crazy because actually one of the things Corday, one of the songs he dropped in 2021 was called Thornton Street. And I'm just gonna play this brief part real quick because I'm gonna let you hear it.
Hey yo, alright, my mom had a nigga at the age of 15. Was forced to drop out of school to take care of a king. She had a desire to sing, and I admire these things. At times a nigga feel guilty, I retired her dreams. Imagine, sky's the limit, you mind your business. Then you pregnant with a street nigga baby. The odds against us, but never mind. Cause your son be living upper echelon. They be talking about me from the barbershops to hair salons. Real impact, something you never could fathom. My first album went gold, I think my next one is platinum.
So it's more to the song, but the part that touched me the most is like, this was the time I had my child. So this is the part that people don't talk about. And it's funny you say that because, like you said, feeling like you retired somebody's dream. So the same way you may think about if your parents had you young or whatever, it's like, did you give up on your dreams because you had a child? And it's like, having a child is not a light experience or a light thing to take lightly. It definitely changes your life. Especially if you're a present parent. If you're not a present, you're gonna keep living your best life, allegedly. But at the end of the day, when you are present and you understand this huge responsibility that you just brought into this world, it's like you have to sit with yourself sometimes. And it's funny you say that again because it's like you wonder, did you retire somebody's dreams, or are you supposed to give up your dreams because you didn't make a mistake? But if it wasn't planned, it's like these are the different emotions that we go through. And I say this because I've been there too. Obviously, with evolving, even then, I knew the decision I made, and I have no regrets about it. But people don't understand. It's like your life changes. So for you saying that, it's just like that's a conversation that I could have often and repeatedly because I don't know if it's an exact answer, but just knowing, like hearing that, it's like, did you retire somebody's dreams, or are you supposed to retire your dreams and not wanting your child to necessarily repeat that same cycle? But at the same time, it's like, it's such a beautiful thing when they do come here. And it's like, at the end of the day, if you sit back, you look at like, nah, this is part of the plan. So I just think of getting to that point is just, I don't know. I don't even know if I say I have the exact steps of how I got there, but I know I've got there where it's just found peace in all things. So I just say all that to say, I'm glad you mentioned that because I hope all the parents that's going through that, whether it's planned or unplanned, they get to a point where it's like, yo, you don't necessarily have to give up your dreams.
You don't.
You will have to maneuver, but you don't got to give it up. And if you put yourself in the mindset that you can do it like you did, you could be on the billboards downtown Atlanta.
That's true.
So I seen that
with
post.
My baby.
Yeah, facts.
And
I
he's
seen
like,
that.
my mommy is famous.
Nah, that's a beautiful thing for real, especially like you said, in a short period of time. 5 years is long, but it's short.
Exactly.
So just to see that growth is like, I just hope people get there and that's exactly why I do what I do with Evolving Through Experience. Like, this is a therapy session. It's not even a podcast. It's a healthcare company for me.
It is.
So I just hope people could get there, honestly, because it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
What was you about to say?
It's
Go
a
ahead.
few things. It's
Go
just
ahead.
like my mind is going, but it just reminds me of my business. So my business is called Artistically Esoteric LLC.
Esoteric.
Yes.
Y'all go Google that.
Exactly. Perfect name.
Yeah.
But my business is all about giving my clients the creative push to get unstuck that they never knew they needed. And so my big thing is helping you come in and everybody's like, I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
My art is not going to look like this and it's not looking how it's supposed to look. And the thing is, you can replace the word art with life. And it's the same thing. My life isn't looking how it's supposed to look. Like, I'm not good at this in life. And it's just like, who
told you that?
Who told you that? what does good really mean to you? What are you measuring by? Like, what are your tools of measurement? Let's take that off. I'm in sessions where I am trying to get you to discover who you really are and separate that from who you feel like you've had to be. And then also think about like who your ideal self is and acknowledge that that person exists here in this moment. But you have to take the steps to walk in your purpose. And sometimes you need to find out what your purpose is. And you know the best way to do that is to brainstorm. You know the best way to do that is with art. Throw some stuff on a canvas. Try things out. You think you're not an artist, but it's because you haven't discovered the mediums that you're most comfortable with. We can get in here and make some texture art and it'll be the best thing you ever saw. But you never thought about doing it. You know, because you've never been in these situations where you can really have the freedom to brainstorm. And I really feel like my company was born from my experience growing up in Atlanta, graduating from Carver School of the Arts in Southeast Atlanta, but then also going to an Ivy League school where all they want you to do is imagine. All they want you to do is to throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks. We're in here having dance classes that are supposed to alleviate poverty. Real life. I'm not even making it up. I had to go off on my I had to go off on my professors. And when I went off on them in the whole class, I was about to drop it and they were like, we heard what you said. It was amazing. We changed the whole syllabus.
Not the whole syllabus.
Yes.
Word.
And so it's like people who have, you know, and it comes with status. It comes with, like I told you, like the different socioeconomic statuses are having completely different experiences.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to bring that and make it accessible to my community because you need to understand, like, so many people are so unhappy with life, but they don't know that they're the key to their happiness.
Yeah.
You're the one who's going to turn the lock. You just have to decide today and every day after that that you can make the life what you want it to make. You can make your life what you want it to be.
Yeah.
You just have to start today and you have to see what it is and shuffle some things around, change it, but don't get stuck. And if you do get stuck, I'm going to help you learn how to get unstuck. If your flame goes out, we'll learn how to reignite it. But you're going to get the tools that you need to be able to be creative and use that imaginative strategizing that we talked about to be able to see the opportunity in no matter what circumstance you have.
No, that's beautiful. And that's why I definitely see why it aligns, because I don't know if I told you this, but guess who my favorite artist is. I asked a few people this.
Really? Your favorite musical artist or
music. I ain't going to leave you guessing too long.
Don't leave me guessing because I'm over here and I'm thinking of everybody ghetto. Ooh! Who is it?
Fab.
Really? Yeah. I can see that.
Why can you see that? Why
Looking can you see at that? You.
So it's funny because Fab, honestly, like, and I think I'm very intentional with music I listen to.
Yeah.
Especially at different spaces in my life. Even when I was in bad spaces, I was still very intentional with what I listened to.
Right.
But Fab music, and also shout out Nipsey. But Fab music.
Love Nip.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Nip after then.
Yeah.
I'm about to definitely get into that. Fab music really helped me get through a different phase of my life when I was in that space. And one thing he said in one of his songs, I can't think of the exact songs off the top of my head what it was, but he was just like, you got to turn that pain in your heart and make it turn it into art.
Yep.
So it's just like you saying that, it reminds me of that because that's what life is about. Like we got to take these things that we experience mentally, physically, emotionally, and turn that all into art. And that's the beautiful process of truly evolving and reaching that point of indescribable peace and happiness for all things. So I just say that because I see the alignment in what you got, and I just want to commend you again because that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And I just see the alignment, and I don't stop at any capacity because I'm gonna have to come to one of the art sessions.
You do because they
I used to draw.
That's what everybody tells me. And
let's get
back to it. Let's get back to it.
We do. I used to draw. It was very peaceful. I do need to get back to it. I do focus on this,
That's
but this is me drawing though. This is me drawing. This is my draw. This is my art.
Okay. But pro tip for real.
I got you.
If you're ever having a bad day and you need to lift your spirits, get back to doing something that you did in your childhood. Find the place where you were when you remember having joy. Do something from that place.
What if that was a woman? A girl you met in your childhood.
Okay.
How do you get back to talking to them?
You can't get back to
okay.
Well, I mean, I can't. If
I'm
you
joking.
got that game, you just got that game.
I'm joking. I got you.
But I'm like, your joy can't be in somebody else.
Nah,
but
facts,
paint a picture of her.
Yeah.
Boom.
No, that might be psychopathic.
Draw a picture. Just one. Just one now.
One might be too far. Nah, but I got you. Nah, you see how we can joke though? I think that's just healthy, like having that, and you funny, so I think that's really healthy. But what I was gonna say next though was Nip. So Nip is also another one. I mean, would you listen to commend everybody that started listening to Nip still
I was
after
listening
his.
to him before he passed.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
I will tell
Thank you.
you, it was his last project before he passed where I'm just like, this is for me. Like
Yeah.
I listened to it when I was in the gym. I listened to it
Yeah.
like before I had my son. And then he passed and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, I can't be claiming like I was
okay.
But I did listen to him before he passed.
Before he
though.
passed
Yeah.
with Victory Lap.
Very authentic.
Okay.
Yeah. Victory Lap was, I love
So
it.
I've been listening to Nip for a long time, probably like 2013-ish. Like, I mean, when he was like doing songs with Jadakiss,
Yep.
all of that. Like,
Yep.
I listened to Nip then, and Nip played a vital role. Like, I listened to Nip. Like, that's even why I go by Equity to this day. Like, I call myself Equity because of Nip. But I'll save that for another episode to go more in detail. But if you go on my IG, you'll see Nips follows me. So another reason why I go so hard with this, and I know I just can't stop, because I really knew I was gonna have the opportunity to meet Nip, because he follows me. It's like I was posting a lot of Nip stuff and the alignment between ET.
Yeah.
'Cause I had this since 2018, but even before then, like I was a fan of Nip. So me always posting and like energy, not gonna lie, you can feel
That's what I'm
energy.
saying.
So it's like I really knew I was gonna have the opportunity to meet Nip. Like to this day, I will never delete Instagram just because
just 'cause of
that one thing. When I tell you, like my day was made, not even like on no fanboy, but it was just more like, yo,
He
like
doesn't give that.
yeah, it's like Nip really like helped me through a lot of things in his music, and it was just like even
it's a ministry.
yeah, and it's like even when you
Yeah.
did, the seeds was planted. Even if I didn't understand everything he was saying at a young age, the seeds was planted. So later on, I did understand them. So I just say that because Nip was a goat.
Yeah.
Nip was definitely a goat. But I want to talk about your child. Let's go back to that, and then we're gonna go to the stepdaddy season too.
Okay.
Because your
I'm cool
intro,
with
I
that.
want you to intro how you doing stepdaddy season.
Oh my God.
And why
I
is
think
it named?
it's
Matter of fact, we're gonna come back.
Yeah.
Why is it named stepdaddy season?
Oh, because I was telling my friends it's my stepdaddy season.
Okay,
Like
I had a
I was
feeling
always like that. I
Yeah.
always been very saucy. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem having a partner.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, it don't
Trying to
matter to me.
stepdaddy
That's
season.
probably why I'm so cool. I'm
Yeah.
just like, go ahead, live your life.
Yeah.
You know, but with me, I'm just like, this is post-apocalyptic divorce. Like this is, I'm never gonna be the same person that I was back then because my maiden name was Amber Smith, and so people keep asking me if I will like go back to that name. I'll tell y'all why after I finish what I'm saying.
I got you.
But yeah, like I feel like it's kind of like before my divorce was my life, and then after my divorce,
New phases.
Because the person I am today, I'm just like, this is the person I prayed to be.
Yeah.
I remember praying in my room when I was 12 years old to be this woman that I am. And so it's just like, this is my season. But this season, I'm talking about my divorce. But then next season, it'll be kind of like a prequel where I talk about the passing of my best friend, because that's what led me to even be in this situation anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You saving that for the episodes?
Huh?
You saving that for the episode?
I talked a little bit about it in my first.
Okay, so if you don't mind, let's share it a little bit, if you're willing.
So I met my best friend. His name is Kentavious Allison. And so we met at Carver. And everybody called him question mark because he had a question mark, birthmark in the middle of his forehead with a dot. And so ever since I saw him, I was just like, oh my
Unique
God,
friends.
so cool. Yeah. And so we kind of just like, I don't know, people call him my soulmate. And I guess it's pretty kind of true. Like, I don't feel like he's my only person, but I do feel like he understood me in a way that nobody else did. And he really helped me begin the process of unpacking my childhood before I even had a therapist. So asking me questions and really challenging the ideas that like my family had given me, because the way that I was raised made me feel like I was a burden constantly. Just very constantly feeling like a problem, very constantly feeling like I was going to find out the truth about myself, when the truth about myself is that I'm a divine person. And my family didn't know how to take that. But most people don't know how to take people like me because they've never met anybody like me and they are threatened by that. But that's their cross to bear, it's not mine. And so being able to have somebody who celebrated me in my fullness, but then also like helped me navigate art. Like I remember doing my first painting next to him in our art class, you know, just doing stuff and having that safe space of a person. But we had a friendship from the time we were like 14 until 19, right before he turned 20, and he passed really unexpectedly. And it just was devastating to me. But one thing that he always told me is like, you helped me get over my first love, and then I helped you get over your first love. So if your first love ever comes back, then and he's in a good place, then maybe you talk to him again, because I feel like he really did love you. But I was like, no, I'm good on him. But then he died. And I was like, dang, the person for me is dead. You know what I mean? So I carried that for a while. And I did try to date, but it was just like so many people. Yeah, so many people try to convince me that love like that doesn't exist anymore. And it's just like, no, the love exists. The person is not here. And it's like people get so offended when you talk about the love that you experience
with somebody else.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way as Lauren London felt. Like some of the things that she was saying about Nipsey when he died, like it was verbatim some of the things I said to my friends. And so I'm like, I get why she wanted to go to the desert, because when you meet somebody like that, it's just your life is never the same. And so it was like me trying to learn how to navigate again, and then talking to the person who was like the closest thing to that, which was still light years away, you know, but it was like my second safe space after being in some not good relationships, you know, and then having somebody who I thank God, even though we didn't end on the best terms, like he still tried his best, like in the time that we were together for that 6 years. Like I can appreciate that time, because he could have been trying to drag me the whole time. It wouldn't have worked because I would have left, but you know,
still beautiful
parts, and being able to honor, you know, the good and the bad, and respect the bad at the same time. But yeah, that's what kind of led me here. So the next season, I'm actually going to invite his family on and some of our friends to really tell his story, because so much of me being here as an artist, I owe to him, and I want to keep his legacy going on. So I'll be doing that, and then I'm also going to be designing his tombstone, because that was something that we didn't have the money for in the beginning, but time has passed now. So it's like I'm working on that project as well, where his mom asked me to do that for them.
That's
so it's like
beautiful.
Full circle.
No, that's beautiful. And that just goes back to show like what you're doing, it's not for a brand purpose. This is a passion. It's a purpose.
Yeah.
Like I don't even call this a brand. I used to, but everything has to evolve. So it's not even a brand no more. This is a purpose at the highest level. So what you're doing, I definitely see like that's a purpose at the highest level, not just for what you're doing for your family and your friend and your soulmate, but for other people. It's leading by example. So I commend you for that sincerely, because that's beautiful. We need more of that. And that's why I'm glad we met. Shout out to Naomi, man.
Yes.
Shout out to Naomi.
Beautiful.
I say that sincerely.
Living Barbie.
Yes. I tell her that since I probably told her that 3 times since we talked.
Yeah.
Now, I appreciate her. So I just got to say it on episode 2. Shout out to Naomi. Because she definitely connect. Nah, for sure.
I know that's right.
Nah, because she definitely looked out. So I appreciate that. Because it was crazy how because I was telling her like what we got planned, and I was telling her like what else I'm trying to do and what I'm looking for. She's like, yo, I have the perfect person. I was like, just set it up. Don't tell me no more. Just set it up. I trust her word for it. Just set it up. Don't even tell me no more. So shout out to her. I appreciate it.
I just met her too.
Word?
We had just met right before you talked to her.
It's crazy, man. We keep meeting a lot of dope people right now.
It's in alignment.
Yo. I keep meeting a lot of dope people right now in a short period of time. Trey, no. It's crazy. So, so with that being said, your intro to Stepdaddy season, though.
Yeah. Which one? Because I got a lot of them.
Okay. No, people people got to hear this.
They got to hear it.
They got to hear this.
Get the people what they want.
Nah, facts. Your intro... no filter, because it'd be mad funny. Was it? No, it wasn't good. No, it wasn't Good Grief. Good Grief is the recent one, right? Hold on. Let me go to her back to it.
Oh my God, I don't know which one. The first one is like my most artsy one.
Your most artsy one, you said?
Yeah, but okay, I'm trying to think of the one that you're talking about.
I'm about to see right now. I'm on it. Hold on. Nah, definitely. We got to pull this up.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny.
Pull this up.
You're making my cheeks hurt.
Nah,
this laughing.
Let's pull it up right here. Here we go. Let's see if this was it. Because you started off this one with a poem.
Mm-hmm. I have poetry.
And you do a lot of poems as well?
I just got into that. I actually was featured on an EP last year. It's a funny story. My friend Zar Josh, he's a rapper here in Atlanta. Very good. Gives me J. Cole, old school Outkast type of vibes. His next project is going to be crazy.
Dope.
But this one was so good. And so he hit me up and he was like, hey, I really need a big favor. Can you come to the studio?
Make a poem.
And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I need you to write something like as if you're God. But I want God to be a woman from East Atlanta. Like, I love your voice. It's so smooth. and I just want you to write something. So I wrote something in 24 hours and I like
Performed it.
did it on his song. So it's the outro for this song 285 on his EP, The In Between.
And he dropped the EP already?
Yeah, the EP's out. It came out last November, and then he had me host the listening party.
Hey, well, let me know next time y'all have any. I've been looking for like going to something like a poem
it was
vibe,
so
but like
good.
a smooth, like, you know, chill back, but really like intellectual poems. Like, not saying, well, I think all poems are intellectual to some degree, but I just want something like a chill vibe. I don't want nothing too rowdy, nothing too. I just want something in the middle. So definitely invite me to. Let me know when the next one is.
My art show is gonna be on June the 8th, so I'm gonna do
June the 8th.
Yep.
I bet.
Art show at the end of my therapy.
Naomi got an
series.
event too. Is it November?
It's the 23rd. I'm gonna be on the
so
panel.
all right. So I guess I just gotta stay here in June. All right, bet. This was it. This was it right here. It was good until it wasn't. That's what it was.
When I was 14, my great aunt called my grandma's house. I was polite when I told her my grandparents weren't home. She asked where they were, and I told her I wasn't sure. I guess that didn't sit well with her because she started calling me stupid, going off real bad. And just before she hung up, she bet me $1 I wouldn't graduate high school. She said I wouldn't be anything but a mother in the projects. Now, what's shocking for you was normal to me.
Cause it's just I like that it's genuine and it's just
raw.
like you being yourself. Yeah, it's raw. You being yourself, and I think we need more of that because. And the reason I say that is because I think people feel like anybody that's amputee is like quiet or like all in their mind, like always living like why me or it can't be funny. But it's like you show that no, like you don't have to live in this stereotype. And one of my favorite quotes is F society beliefs, because within beliefs lies, like the word lies. So like beliefs, society beliefs just be lies. So I'm glad that you are defining those are lies, because that's not the case. So you just being very open and being cool at this, I just commend it. I think we need more of that. So definitely don't ever lose that. Because when I listen to the intro, I'm like, no, she's wilding on the first 10 seconds. Like, yo, she's going crazy. So I appreciate that. So definitely don't lose that, because people need that, especially like I said. And I want to ask you this, like any woman, child in general that may have just been like to the age where they realize they're amputee. And I don't want to say amputee as a negative thing. So, but they may be an amputee. Okay. Yeah. So they are amputee. What can you give them to let them know, like, yo, you're not losing anything. Like, you got to get to that mindset. Just because you may be missing something, quote unquote, to society standards, but you're here and you're breathing, you still have a purpose and you're still worthy. What could you tell them? Because obviously you've been to that stage. So what can you tell them?
First, I will speak a little bit about like the limb loss community. So I consider myself an amputee, but some people who are a part of the limb loss community do not consider me to be an amputee. So they feel like if you were born this way and you didn't have it like actually surgically removed, you're not an amputee. It's
so
really
they being
weird.
biased against you?
Yeah, and it's mostly like...
So we got biases everywhere.
It's biases everywhere. And I realized this when I worked for the Amputee Coalition.
Not they kicking you out.
Yeah, they were trying to kick me out. And it would be so crazy because it would be right after I had like a peer visit, which is kind of like a low-key therapy session with somebody who's a recent amputee. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you just get it. You get it more than anybody who ever understood. When did you lose your arm? And I'm like, I was born this way. Oh, then you don't get it at all. Mind you, I've been on the phone with this person for an hour.
Just ruin your whole conversation.
But it's like they need to have agency over certain things, and it's always like a certain demographic of people who do it where I'm just like, all right, you know what I'm saying?
No,
but
crazy.
they're also in a place of transition. I have a lot of empathy, but people who are born with any kind of limb difference, where it be like, digits that they're missing, which are fingers, or like upper extremity amputees, which are like me, or people could have like amputations at the shoulder. Those are all like limb loss, limb difference, but also you can call people amputees. But I would just say, honestly, there's nothing wrong with your body. The world has the problem. And the problem is accessibility. That's the big thing. Like, if the world was completely accessible, your body wouldn't be a problem. If people didn't...
Elaborate on that, accessibility.
So it's like how he moved the table over here so I can have it on this side. Not everywhere I go is going to have a table that's on the right-hand side. It'll be on the left. There are a lot of two-arm things is what I call it. Like, when you have to open pills or stuff like that, and it's like a two-arm motion, or like doors that you have to turn, lock, and open them up at the same time. Some things that might be difficult for me, or people who even have like traction issues, things like that, like not accessible. Ramps. You know, when you go places and there are no like
Ramps for
wheelchair
wheelchairs?
ramps,
Yeah.
not accessible. People who are hard of hearing, and they might need captions on videos, you know, to be able to experience those things, because any kind of barrier that's standing in the place means it's not accessible to other people. And
Okay.
there could be a lot of barriers. Even people who are colorblind can't see certain colors. So like reading through websites, if the fonts and stuff are too much of the same color, it'll be hard for them to be able to read and navigate. So anything that's standing as a barrier between a person living like a normal adjusted life without having to have intervention or having to have a caregiver do something for them all the time, that means it's not accessible. So does that make
got
it
you?
make more
No, I got
sense?
you. I figured that's what you meant, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
okay.
and then for everybody else who's listening, they're like, I hear accessibility all the time. What does that mean? But yeah, so that's what I mean by that. But I don't feel like anything is wrong with my body.
No,
it's
for
not,
sure, you
because
shouldn't.
I can do pretty much everything I want to do. Like I've been
And more
home.
than some of you said more than some of these.
Yeah, who got 2 arms? I'm out here like
Yo.
I've done kickboxing. I've been homecoming queen. I was
Nah.
valedictorian. I went to an Ivy League school. Like I've had so many experiences. I've worked at major nonprofits, been manager here and there, done so many things where I've been the top performer in so many places. I don't need to prove myself.
Facts.
And that's something else I would say to other people who are living with differences is don't feel like you have to prove yourself. Don't feel like you have to be so super, because on the opposite side of people who may be shy are the people who feel like they have to overachieve. And I definitely feel like I was one of those people for a long time until my best friend passed. And I was like, all this, like I'll flip all this over. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to do, I've done enough, you know? And part of that was me having to like navigate through situations that made me feel like I wasn't enough, where there was like family, friendship, relationships, and putting those to rest and like standing firm in the fact that like I am showing up for myself every day. This is a beautiful body that I am proud of. My arm is very cute. Very aesthetically pleasing with its own little cute face. You know what I mean? So just being able to take pride in who you are and showing up as your full, complete self every single day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you. Honestly, I want to ask you this because now as a mother, and I know we kind of briefly touched on it, but how do you have these conversations with your son when he's obviously, I'm sure he's probably asked, because children ask so many questions. So what could you say to a parent that have to explain this to their child, that if the parent is an amputee or parents are amputee, because we already covered if the child is. So what does that process look like?
It's very much an ongoing conversation. I always wonder what my son was going to be like. He loves my arm. Like loves
Beautiful,
it
as he should.
so much. And so in my family, we call my arm Army. Yeah, I have like a whole name for it, Armando.
I got you.
But yeah, so he calls my arm Army and he loves it. So it's just like he wants to like explore and like squish it and stuff, touch it, whatever. But he'll ask me
That's
questions
beautiful.
like, why you don't have 2 arms?
Yeah.
Like auntie and uncle have 2 arms, grandma and granddad all have 2 arms. Where your
And
arm?
ask whatever. And random
and
places
sometimes
too.
he'll make jokes.
Yeah,
Like
word.
we'll be play fighting or something, and then he'll use his 2-arm advantage on me, and I'm like, how could you do that? The betrayal is really there,
that's
but
crazy.
he's so great about it.
Yeah.
Very much like, you know, starting to understand. But I think what's hard for him is like when we go into public and
People
like he
stare.
sees people's interactions with me, and it's like sometimes people will be like rude, which I'm the type of person where
Rude for what though?
Oh, I'll
I
tell
guess
you
we
what
can't
people
explain,
have said.
but
I will.
Okay,
Because
okay.
people don't think they feel like because I have this pretty privilege,
Yeah.
like I'm conventionally attractive, like I have
Yeah.
a nice body, like I don't have to deal with any of that. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, people are penises.
Yeah.
You know, like they
Yeah.
are me.
I got you.
So, but
Yeah.
he's just very good about it. But I think like he's starting to kind of see how society perceives me, and that is a deeper conversation that we'll be having as he gets older. But I feel like the way that I am really does help, but a lot of people aren't really there yet in their processes and in building their confidence, and it just takes a little bit every day, and it takes a lot of fear. But I think people think I don't get scared. No, I'm scared sometimes. Sometimes I'm self-conscious. Sometimes I don't want to have the conversations. Most of the time I do, but sometimes it's like, if you don't, I can't say bad words. If
Say
you don't
it.
care, I don't care either.
Oh, you don't give a- I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you're trying to say.
I was really
I
going
got
to bring
you.
out the old Atlanta.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, but I think that's healthy though. You
Yeah.
can't be stressed or worried about what other people think. You got to not
You
give
will
a fuck.
die.
Respectfully, you got
will
to.
literally die.
You got to.
Like your heart, like stress. I went to a retreat and especially for Black women, there are so many diseases that are linked to like trauma and stress and holding on to feelings and how that manifests in your body. It's psychosomatic. Like you will literally die.
Kill yourself, yeah.
You can't do that. Let that go and be free.
Hey, it's funny you say that because I be saying like spiritual death is worse than physical. So many people right now have or are dying spiritually because of other things that they have not addressed. And at the end of the day, that's worse. Like you got to get the help. You got to want to evolve. And I love what Hove said. Like the first step in healing. I'm kind of messing it up. Sorry, Hove. Rock Nation. I still want to do business. But he was just pretty much in 444, the album. He's just like, you never hear what you never reveal. And that's where it truly starts. And 444, I think it dropped like, what year was that? 2016 or whatever. And like even then, what was I in 2016? 16? Wow. Whatever. And it's like even then I was able to digest that. And it's just like, bro, you never truly do hear what you never reveal. And it's just like, it's such a beautiful thing when you get to that point and just like, you can sit back and just appreciate everything from in nature to everything around you, no matter what it is. And I just hope people get there.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I hope people get there. And I hope with my platform and what you're doing, and obviously as we collab, that we can make sure we have that impact on as many people as possible.
Definitely.
At least a billion. A billion small, but at least a billion.
It will.
The big B. I need the big B.
It will be big B's.
Big B's.
Big B's
Facts.
and big business. Okay.
Yeah, facts.
It's
Big
always
B's.
going to be that.
Facts. So yeah, we definitely going to do that. And that's why with this, I just take this like very serious. Like I said, it's not even like, it's not a podcast for me no more. I really just want to truly show people like we can all through it. And even with my situations of things I have to work through, I want to, because at first I stopped this because of life, but I want to show people in real time, like I'm evolving too.
Exactly.
This ain't a one day thing. We don't just get over this stuff one time. New stuff don't pop up. Things come back, new things pop up, and you got to process it. So look, I'm evolving with y'all. I'm evolving through experience with y'all.
Yeah.
Yep. So now I appreciate it. I was gonna ask you, as far as the art. So I know when you said, do you have consistent art shows?
So this is gonna be my first art show. Okay. I did an art show last year, but it wasn't mine. I was just a vendor. Okay. But this is going to be my first ever art show that I put on. Okay. So it's going to be curated by me. It'll be for the community. And we're actually going to create art that's going to be auctioned off in the show because I want people to have access to art that's affordable.
Okay.
So I'm going to have a few sessions where we work together and we're going to create these pieces as a community. I'm going to piss people off on purpose because I want to create an environment where you get used to changes and you start to anticipate change and adversity. So I'm just going to introduce that into the environment, into the studio, so that people can talk about their feelings, get it out in a safe space and be like, oh, I can recognize how I worked through this in that art session and now I can apply these skills I'm learning in my real life. And then we can auction this art off, do a little raffle that's affordable, and then just, pull the tickets and allow somebody to take art home with them that night.
Yeah, and like you said, and also have the impact.
To the community.
No, that's love. I like that. No, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I want to ask you this. Well, before we wrap up, what's any last words you want to tell the people? Because we definitely have to do a part 2, but we're gonna start here.
I want to tell people to really be mindful of your words. Whatever you want, start speaking it today, because the things that I'm experiencing today, I have been speaking over the past 5 years. And some stuff I just started saying, and I'm here. Like I've been saying I'm on a press tour. I'm literally on a press tour. I'm going from podcast to podcast. I've been featured in the AJC recently. Like there are so many things that are coming my way. And I'm grateful to be here today because not only is it filling my spirit, I do feel like it's pushing me on and propelling me forward to my next level in a lot of ways. And I feel like anybody who's watching this and hearing this right now is witnessing history.
No, facts.
A new Black Renaissance for real, where we're healed, and we're healing and we're unearthing things so that we can sow new seeds and really grow healthy crops.
Beautiful.
Ready for our trees to bear some
trees,
fruit.
Everything. Yeah, for sure. The healthy fruit, good fruit. Yeah. You coming to the vegan side? You vegan?
Nah, I eat vegan like most of the day. Okay. And then like at home, I'm eating whatever I want. Hood foods and whole foods.
Hood foods and whole foods.
It'll be on a t-shirt soon. That's the balance. That people ask me what's the secret to this body.
Yeah, hood foods and whole foods. All right, say less. I got you. Okay, where can people follow you at?
You can follow me on Instagram. I have so many of them.
Nah, I got you. We're going to put them at the bottom too. Just send them to me. We're going to make sure we put them
Yes.
all. We'll make sure.
At artistically ESO, at Amber Enadeghe. My last name is long, so he's going to tag it.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
at Stepdaddy Season Pod, y'all got to tune into
for
the
sure.
podcast. It's too loud.
Hopefully I get
305.
invited on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I'm
say
going to
that-
invite people on.
I bet. Just let me know you're ready.
Yes.
Let me
We're
know
going to
ready.
talk about relationships and have different topics to really
I ain't
dive
ready yet.
through.
Then relationships, I ain't ready. So now I'm
No,
ready.
that's why that's
And
why
I
you
got
coming.
you. I know.
Because I'm in a place
I
where
got
I'm
you.
like starting over with my
Yeah.
relationship. So I get it.
Nah, say less. I'm looking forward to it. Say
Yeah.
less. Well, if y'all enjoyed another episode, man, I hope y'all did. This was very therapeutic. This was probably the first episode I've done without actually having a laptop. And truth be told, I always just try to do this in the most artful way. Every time, respectful for sure. And this was the first episode I didn't use the laptop. And truth be told, even when I do use the laptop, I don't get to all the questions because I always just let conversations flow.
Right.
I think that's just the most beautiful because then it allows things to be authentic and natural versus trying to force anything. But I really enjoyed this episode. Truly, I'm looking forward to more. I'm looking forward to building our relationship, connecting, and creating art in every aspect from what you got going on, from what I got going on, collabing, whatever we can do. So if y'all enjoyed another episode of Evolving Through Experience, make sure y'all check us out. Make sure y'all follow her. Make sure y'all support her. And make sure y'all keep evolving because if you're not evolving, you are dissolving. So make sure y'all catch us on the next episode. Peace.